Here's to another episode of Uninterrupted The Shop, full of memorable and very unpredictable moments.
Cheers to that.
I accidentally got high at work.
Okay, the phrase is accidentally. Whoa.
That doesn't even sound right.
Accidentally on.
They said you're wrapped. So I'm in my trailer, and this was the one and only time I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna have some weed in the trailer. And then I was literally going to walk out, and they're like, we just rearranged the scenes. We're going, you're on. And I was like, I am not kidding. I acted like the line is like, wow, I can't believe he would do that. And instead I was like, I can't believe
They wish and they wish and they wish and they wish and they wishing on me. I don't wanna die for them to miss me. Yes, I see the things that they wishing on me. Hope I got some brothers that outlive me. They gon' tell the story was different with me. God's plan, God's plan. I can't do this on my own, hey, no, hey. I've been me since Scarlet Road, hey, God's plan, God's plan.
I'm such a news junkie. We've never lived in a time where we are this forced to look at everything for better or worse. You cannot turn away from it.
I'm about to say, do you ever shut it off?
Yeah, but for like a day, max, and then I'm on it again.
I don't think we're forced. I think we're conditioned.
Yes.
It's a conditioning now, for sure, because, you know, everything from the way it's displayed to us to the device that we get it on is designed to keep your attention.
Yes.
You know, and it's a cycle because that feeds ratings, ratings feed a story.
Advertisement.
And before you know it, you know, we're all sort of engrossed in something. And
But it is interesting also, like, Kai, you have a different situation because during the season, you have literally microphones in your face. How do you deal with that? Like, just the constant media, I don't want to call it scrutiny, but like obligation you have, right, as part of your job?
Yeah, it's wearing the crown, honestly. It comes with it. We all say it. Easier said than done. I mean, dealing with it in my shoes is difficult at times, I'll be honest. But there are times where light shines through the truth, and you have to spread it out. And I do my best to be available and give that warm invite to all walks of life.
I think that's such a lifelong North Star of a goal for me, like, to not alienate people, to
Absolutely.
find the common denominator. We all have stories. How do you do that? Because it's definitely so important to me to find a way to, like, I love toilet paper because we all use it. I'm like, there is a fantastic common denominator. I mean, it's everywhere. It's something everybody kind of engages in. And I try to think about everything that we come together on or to have an attitude, but I've tried to carry that out in a much deeper daily way. How do you do it?
I had to figure out what my moral compass and code was gonna be. And I went searching down my family lineage. And if we continue to say as a human race we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, then I think people in the past got it right. We don't have to keep trying to change history all the time and manipulate it to be pretty again. It's like, there's an ugliness to it, and I like that just as much as I enjoy the beauty. I am willing to serve a bigger purpose than myself, and that means that I'm willing to take the lead as well as be a passenger on someone else's journey and just listen and grow throughout that. So I do my best to stay in that balanced place and really learn about the indigenous ways of living, which is Mother Earth first.
Of course. By the way, Paul, just for you guys to know, he started a professional lacrosse league, which is a fucking big deal. Congrats to you.
Thank you.
And it's going. He's got a deal on the ESPN.
That's
but as the
amazing.
founder of a league and like you feel like you're one of the pillars of lacrosse, do you feel a responsibility now?
No question. The reason why I wanted to start a new league is that lacrosse is a native game to the Americas. And we don't know with full accuracy the history of the native people in the Americas. Some account for 70 million prior to 1492. but we do know that 95% of the population was wiped. And this is a lot of what you're close with through your mother, and through your own bloodline. And in lacrosse, it's a game that they call Dehontik Wahas. It started in the Northeast, which is the Haudenosaunee people of the Six Nations. And they played for the creator. They called it the medicine game. And the version that you see that I played, grew up in loving, is a secular version. And part of what we do now is through healing, I think, lacrosse's Northeast exclusive kind of prep school reputation is understanding ways to connect with other people. And you look around, and there's just a lot of white people that play a sport, and it's an indigenous game. At the professional level, I was embarrassed to tell people what I did. Isn't that like the white boy sport? And so you're like, fuck, man, you know. So what do? I'm a pro athlete. I mean, that was in my bio.
You were just saying I'm pro athlete.
Pro athlete, it was easier. So then I was like, man, this shit's gotta change.
You want to change the narrative of the way I see lacrosse.
100%. And there's risk because you have your core audience that is like, nah, don't talk about that. Like, lacrosse is great.
Can I ask a question? Was there a moment in your life where you were first blown away by lacrosse and thought, this is what I want to spend my life doing?
It was a build-up over time.
Right.
Or wasn't as a kid?
I didn't start playing until middle school, and it was because my neighbor gave me his backup stick. We grew up playing rec sports.
Though. Like,
That's the moment.
That's the moment
Yeah,
for
I
me.
got it, but I sucked.
By the way-
My first shot went backwards.
That's okay.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to quit. I grew up playing hoops, soccer, track and field, and there are a lot of times in my career where I was like, damn, I should have stuck with those.
By the way, Drew, I want to ask you the same thing about, you were in fucking E.T.
Yeah.
How old were you in that movie?
It's 6.
6?
Did you
Yeah.
want to do it? Did your parents have you do it? And at that moment, did you realize this is what I want to do for a career?
No, by that time I had already been long in the tooth with working, and I was
At
a
6, you were
hustler.
really-
Yeah, I did my first commercial when I was 11 months old, in diapers, not a euphemism, but I was born into a family that all did it. Like
All did show
the
business.
Barrymores, but they were all dead and long gone. And my dad was a drug addict, and he was, didn't wear shoes, and he was really crazy, but like awesome and a character, and sort of like Gollum meets Oscar Wilde on drugs. And he was just so cool and fascinating. And I could tell at a young age, I was like, oh, this guy's not capable of shit. So let's just love him for who he is and not expect anything from him. And my mom, she worked as a waitress at the Comedy Store in the Troubadour. Single mom, I worked by day, she worked by night. When I was doing E.T., she was shooting, she also was an actress. She was in this movie Night Shift that Ron Howard directed. She was doing that, playing like hooker number 19 at night while I was doing E.T. in the day. And then she stopped to become my manager, and that's where everything fell to shit.
And how long did she stay your manager?
Well, at 14, I got emancipated by the courts, and I got out on my own. But I had been in an institution for 2 years before that.
Wow, what a life you've lived on.
So I think one of your questions was going to be, do you think that for kids going into the business is a good
Show business,
idea?
what
And
do you
I
think?
would say, fuck to the no. Because
Even with all your success, early on you had.
that's the irony. I love my life, but I, as a parent, don't have the ability to say it's a great idea because the statistics
Yeah.
alone show
Yeah.
what, and I think I believe the answer is what happened to me is you just get so much access. And my mom was bananas. My mom took me to Studio 54.
What?
She took
Hell.
me, she would get into the clubs, but I don't think that kids should live like adults.
I have a question, though, really technically. First of all, I want to start off by saying congratulations on that role. At 6 years old, you gave a performance that I think everyone basically mirrored some version of for the next 2 decades, real talk. Like, your character and the naturalism that you brought was incredible. I just want to ask about that naturalism.
I think that has a lot to do with Steven Spielberg making you, and I never felt the cameras in the room. I believe a camera's there to do its job of capturing, but it's another soul within, like, the group of people. And I know there are cables. I know ET's not real. And I know there's cables on that camera. But it just all falls away. And you're so in the moment and you're so present. And I think a lot of people who kind of do a lot of cut and action and fanfare, like, I'm a real, like, keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling.
Keep it real, just be in it.
Yeah.
And Steven was really like that. And he really encouraged improv. He loved the naturalism. And I think, you know, he used to say, don't act your characters, be your characters.
By the way, in this day and age, you know, like, we don't get E.T. with the wires.
No, that's right.
No.
Yeah.
It's a green figure or an X in the room, and you act to the X.
Do you like playing a hero or a villain more? Like, which one gives you more satisfaction?
Good
and which are you more
question.
comfortable
Great
in?
question.
Because you go back and forth.
For sure.
That felt like
And
a
a
villain
little bit of
smile.
both, Stringer Bell, you know?
Yeah, Stringer
I've been
Bell.
Baltimore
That was
for
the
10
cusp.
years. It's like,
Stringer Bell,
right down the middle.
I feel like literally satisfaction comes from playing characters that feel as far removed from me as possible.
Got it.
All right, I consider myself a human being that is, you know, a little bit embracing of everything. So when you play a bad character, a character that has like no redeemable qualities, there's something really satisfactory about that when you don't come from that place.
Even within that, how soon do you feel like you're the character? Is it immediately day one you show up for both of you? Is it halfway through? Like, when do you feel you're this character?
I mean, I definitely do a lot of like studying and research and backstory, and I want to have a kind of a thought or an answer or like history as that person. Everything you do is show up so fucking prepared that is the only point where you can let go and be free.
It's so funny you said about being prepared. You know, I've seen you do things, and I've asked Bron, like, holy shit, that movie goes, I've seen him do that in practice 100 times.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you.
the things you do on the court, like, you're that over-prepared for them and they just become...
And do you remember the shit you did? Because there's one specific shot, I think me and Bron talk about that you made.
It's a left-hand floater.
Off the backboard on the
Off the
baseline,
backboard.
though.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the angle, I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Fuck making the shot. I couldn't believe you thought you could take that shot. Why? There's nobody in the history of game that got to that spot and jumped up and thought that was an option.
Catholic school didn't let me stay left-handed.
Oh, you were left-handed at first?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's why you got that.
can't even
Absolutely.
tell.
I was getting slapped on the hand for writing with my left
Oh,
hand.
wait, I never knew this.
Yeah, that was
left-handed.
old school. This was in '96.
Do you write lefty?
Yeah, I could do both.
Wait, so when you put a ball in your left hand, how does it feel now?
Natural.
No, when you
No.
watch him play,
Are you ambidextrous?
Makes sense
Yeah,
now,
just
though.
both sides of my brain are unlocked if you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is one more creative and one more logical? Like,
But that's why I wanted to ask you guys, because what do you like to be described as? Actors, as your role that you play, or as
Funny,
artists?
when you said you put pro athlete
Right.
in like your profile, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was like, dating app or occupation? And I wanted to take a poll around the room and say, if you had to describe yourself in one or two words, what would it be?
I love a genreless life. It's beautiful to watch and appreciate that, but also do it yourself. I make music, I pray with ministers, I sit with everybody you can think of. I'm sitting and observing and trying to learn. Artist just gives me, when I describe myself as an artist, it just gives me an opportunity to do whatever the fuck I want.
Artist,
an artist,
artist
okay.
is vast.
Absolutely. I
You
feel like
create,
we all
you're
are.
creative.
Yeah, creator, artist. Yeah. The tool I choose to use as my paintbrush is my basketball. I've done it in my backyard since I was 6 years old.
But when
That's
you're
just
out there,
something.
are you thinking about the shit you're doing, or are you just doing it?
I am constantly crafting new canvases
Got it.
every time I grab that paintbrush, the ball. New canvas, new side on the court. It is literally just a hardwood floor with lines on it, but I disrespect those lines
So
and go
bad.
outside those boundaries
Yes.
because it's meant to. It's meant to be
Is
tweaked.
it, and it's fun, right?
Absolutely.
is it fun when you're losing?
It's the
That-
fucking
I was
worst.
just telling him, there's like, do you guys have an assassin's oath?
What's that, Kai?
You just love being in the water full of sharks. The best of the best.
The man in the arena, just like always
On
out
that
there.
level.
It
You
comes
just
with
know
everything.
everybody's a gladiator just like you.
Just
So
like you.
losing is the assassin's oath like of just, we don't want that?
Do you flail when you're like losing, or does something like kick in? Because if I'm like spun out at work, I wonder if the work is good when I'm grasping and desperate.
Yeah. I think that, like, the thing about acting is that you're literally replicating things that people go through every single day, right? So when someone's screaming and shouting in the middle of an argument, you're doing it. If your gut doesn't feel like that, it doesn't quite connect as actors.
Yeah.
Losing is when you have to fabricate that. And the crew are like, okay, we're gonna go one more. And you can tell everyone knows that this is a moment that the boom man's like, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to stay in it, don't look at the
you
crew.
can tell.
Don't look at the crew.
You can tell when you're stinking it up or something's off.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a time to let go even more or to try even harder, and you never know which one's gonna like end up getting you there. And it's the same as like when all of a sudden the shift has happened and you're on the down and you're trying to get back up, losing to winning. What is it that kicks in that gets you back to a better place?
I mean, here's the thing. Here's how I think about losing, and a lot of it is framing. But there's this misconception that people who are quote unquote successful at their craft, like all of you, are just more talented than everyone else. And while that may be the case, you have more risk aggression. You've put yourself in more situations where you have failed and lost, so you build resilience. Like those who win lose, because like our winning is like what's celebrated, it's remembered, but our growth comes from our losses. Tenfold, man.
I think in life, those that are addicted to the process actually don't need to lose to win. LeBron for 20 years, he is literally addicted to the process. He likes winning, he likes championships, but he actually likes going to the gym and training much more than the parade and the celebration. But if you really can dive into the process of something and love that, then you can then that you're actually addicted to learning, and you want to get better. You keep going back to the process.
I did not expect this to happen today, but I am having a addicted to the process.
But how does that prepare people for the losses? There are so many fragile young people, right? When they take a loss, it is over.
Yes,
what I'm
I know.
saying.
That's a great
Scary.
question.
See, that's what I think is you found the meat in between the two slices of bread. You have winning and losing. Great. Those are big pendulums.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of life?
The process.
What is the
It's a
middle?
process. It's like
Enjoying.
10,000 hours.
That's it. Addicted to the process.
Even the bad shit, liking all of it.
Yes, every element.
Two words for you. James Bond. It's been a lot of chatter, social.
Have they announced who the next one is yet? But they have not.
I don't believe they have, but I know
If it's not you, I don't want to see it.
Thanks, Drew.
it makes two of us.
That's the meme for the next 2,000 years. Thank you very much.
Makes two of us.
It's-
But there's been a ton of chatter out there that the role was offered, not offered, you wanted it, didn't want it, there was a conversation, wasn't a conversation. What can you, if anything, say about
No,
James
let me
Bond?
throw the question out to you guys, all right? If you are of the agreement that you think that I should play it, can you ask yourselves why and really answer why you think I should play it? Tell me why.
That is a great question.
That's the best question. You want to go first?
For me, the great art of art itself is being this beautiful hybrid model that has utter cohesion. Can you be strong and charming and sexy and seem like a friend, be intimidating? How many characteristics can one person embody but be utterly unique at the same time? You are that.
That was extremely
That's
articulate because she's a lot smarter than me. I was just gonna say because you're handsome and cool. In English.
But do you think that there's a nostalgia, and be honest, there's a nostalgia to the idea, I shouldn't say nostalgia, there's an allure to the idea of me being the first black man to play that character?
I think
Is there an allure?
Yes.
for me, it's you.
Undoubtedly.
It's also, there's another characteristic that you don't embody, which for me is my number one, I gotta go characteristic, which is smug. I fucking hate smug more than anything in the world, and you don't carry that, and yet you have every confidence and capability in the world, but you're devoid of the one that alienates people I feel the most. I like people who bring people in. I do not want to be pushed away and sit there and think I have to like this. Bring me in. You bring people in, and you're not desperate or pandering whatsoever.
No. Do you want to do it?
It is not a goal for my career.
Got it.
I don't think that, playing Bond will satisfy some of my personal goals. It will definitely satisfy the will of a nation. I'm not gonna lie. Every corner of the world I go, and I'm talking about different cultures, they always go, Bond. And I feel it is beyond me at this junction. It's beyond me, It's not a question of should I, do I, will I. It is what the will of the nation dictates sometimes. I'm not that guy, but in everyone's world, I might be. And that, job done. Because the truth is, a lot of people are really seeing Idris playing Bond as the alternative Bond. And as long as that alternative is existing, that's great for the growth of fucking casting. We open the conversations. And so for that reason, I'd sit here and say, great, talk about me all day long because it opens the blinkers that we all have.
Have you followed this story, and I want to ask you about this, with actors who are black and the whole idea of English black actors taking American roles? I was in a bar, I was at Chiltern, having a drink, and next to me, the actor who's playing Whitney Houston. She's English. I said, I hope you know, black women in America are gonna be like, English woman you're playing one of the most iconic African-American women ever. And it's a thing. What do you feel about that?
Even the way you framed it up, though, taking American roles, right?
Yes.
It's crazy that
it's crazy that it's,
right?
it's
But
like
you know what I noticed? You said a black woman in America versus an English woman. Like being English makes you less black.
Exactly, that's the issue.
Like,
That's the issue.
to me, that defines how unintelligent the whole argument is. No disrespect to anyone that has that feelings, it is what it is, but the fact is we're all black. Like, let's just be, you get a Scottish actor playing an Irish character or an English actor, you don't hear about the debate. But amongst ourselves, we want to point fingers because we come from a conditioning that makes people just make sure, where are you from and are you authentic from where you're from?
How black are you, which is crazy.
How black are you, and it comes down to the caste system. And it's annoying to me, really annoying. My grandfather fought the Second World War for this country, US, comes from Kansas City. I come to this country and someone's saying to me, you ain't American. I'm like, huh? How dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
But the truth is, what am I gonna bring that out as some sort of argument?
Well, the idea, it's a character. I mean, it's for anybody,
It's
really.
acting.
It's acting.
How
It's
do you
acting.
feel
Cultural
about that?
appropriation, though, is
Yes.
definitely something that we should pay attention to.
Sure.
But in the acting profession, one should be allowed to play.
How long do you want to act, or to what
Have you
age?
thought about
How long do I want to act
Yeah.
for the rest of my life? I want to act for the rest of my life, but I also feel that there are other parts of my, palette that are going to amplify. Whether it's creative, whether it's writing, directing, music, whatever it is. I feel like, those parts of the tentacles in my career or my industry grow, no doubt.
I think also if you build towards other goals, you don't put all your stock in one thing. I think diversifying is really important and not feeling like at one point I'll age out. What will be also future things that I would love to invest in, study, learn, prepare myself for, so that I have eggs in different baskets. And they may have to all do with the same thing. It may be writing and directing, which seems very, adjacent to an acting, or starting a league, which is adjacent to being a sports athlete. But I think it's so good to plan on bigger picture things rather than holding on so tight to something, because life is so ebbing and flowing and changing. It's not likely.
That's dope.
So what roles do interest you now at this stage in your career? Like, you got your next movie is Beast. Like, why did you take that one? And what roles do interest you now?
Well, we come in from a cycle where the theater was done. You know, cinema is the heart of filmmaking. People go to the cinema to watch it. So we made Beast because we wanted to make a film that invited people to come and experience it on the silver screen. Also, there's a cultural relevance to it, you know. It's a black family being, you know, transported back to Africa and find themselves in the middle of a thriller. And that hasn't been seen before, so that's partly why I did it. But in terms of generally how I choose films now, it's really about what haven't I done?
You want to challenge yourself?
Yeah, I want to breathe life into something that I've never done before. I say this, by the way, I said out publicly I wanted to play Michael Jordan. Boom. Let's put it out there.
Damn.
Put it out there. But do you, as
Oh, yo, you gave me the stink face. What's that about? You did. I saw it. You went.
I don't know.
You
I
know,
don't know right now.
Just can
I
you
don't
hoop?
want to say I don't see it. I just don't.
Just, can you hoop?
First of all,
I don't know.
that's a great question. It isn't about the hooping. It's about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but we still want to know.
businessman.
But it is about hooping.
No.
That's what
that look like.
We still gonna see the great. He's the greatest
That's
guy
great.
ever
That's
touched
great.
the basketball.
But Jordan, Michael Jordan, the business, has never been exercised in a story form.
Or no,
True.
he's never even talked about it. We
That's
never
right.
really heard Michael.
And that's not. The hooping is definitely relevant, but it's not. If I was going to dissect a story about him, it wouldn't be about the hooping, because nobody wants to see someone pretend to do moves we've seen all day.
Also,
Nobody
I
wants to see
love
that.
business, and I'm hot for this movie
Thank you.
already.
Talking business, how many athletes understand the business of the sport they play?
I mean, look, I think that athletes, there's a range of them. Some want to know, like you guys have all done. And then there's some athletes, like there are actors that just want to be talent because they know that it's a fleeting business and they need to strike and not be distracted by anything else. But having played sport for 14 years, then going on the league side, you get it. And you get where the tension is. Because I used to be an athlete to say, why the fuck don't they do this? This seems easy. They're marketing it wrong. They're doing this wrong. And the thing about business is that you have a board, you have employees, you have constituents from players and their parents and agents. Everyone needs to be heard and talked to. As athletes, we just have ourselves. We have one board member, it's us. We have one athlete, it's us. And we make decisions, that's why you can be agile. But I would say that you've got to thread the needle.
Yeah, I'll just be completely honest. I was a nerd way before I was an athlete. Like just a quirky, awkward kid. So I did it based on the ROI in 4th grade because my dad's a financial sector, head. He knows a lot of information about the market. Saw him wake up 5:30, 6 a.m. to go to Wall Street. So I got a different perspective. 4th grade, I went in my closet, I said, I am going to the NBA. Anything you invoke with I am after it, the power of manifestation and what can happen in the universe comes true. So in 4th grade, so just imagine me in 4th grade, I'm looking at the ROI on what NBA players make per year. And I'm just doing this as a curious young man, exploring the world. And now that I'm 30 years old and I have fiduciary responsibility to the Players Association, representing not just me now, but the next generations to come after. It can be a lot to handle when you learn about the tension behind the scenes.
What have you learned? What have you learned over the last 3 years, 4 years? You went through, you was the eye of the storm for one time. I don't want to talk about the storm, I just talk about what you've learned from it. Who am I sitting in front of today?
I have been through a lot more than I could probably speak on in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't use it as baggage that I like to carry around with me. My history is my history. I've done some quirky shit in public and some quirky shit behind the scenes. and I've dealt with like the vilification of that. Mm-hmm. And I often didn't spend a lot of time with people. You can ask them, I would be in my house, dedicating myself to watching greatness. That's Kobe, Bron, MJ, studying these positions that guys that are in the older generation have done before me, so I want to be just like them. Like playing with Bron and playing with KD, these are two of the best to ever lace them up, but within our culture, they are two true icons. And I had to fill in those shoes that were very uncomfortable for me because at that point in my life, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I was watching the 30 for 30 on a decision. A year later, I was drafted into that Cleveland emotional train of the prodigal son, chosen one has left, and here we have this 19-year-old kid, I'm 6'2", I'm not jumping out of the gym. Emotionally, I was dealing with things that I had no idea
Had nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing. So when I took on that pressure and as my own, I started feeling like I gotta bring Cleveland back to the promised land. That was a solo act.
You went through that when you were 19. How old were you when Bron came back?
22, 23?
22, 23. With what you know now at 30, do you do anything differently during that period?
We could sit here for hours. We could sit here for hours going through the details, combing through it, but I think the greatest thing I would tell the youth is superheroes need help. You know, the leader of the team doesn't always have to take on the burden. And Bron took on crazy burdens. We feel, that's the biggest commonality we have as human beings is emotions. They may look different in how we express it, but they're the same. If you're angry or you're sad or you're going through stuff in your life, it is the same emotion that I would feel. It just may look different. I'll be honest with you, I was in those circles where the shadows were all around me, partying my ass off, relationships here and there, going through heartbreak, going through things that show the authentic, true you because somebody's actually putting up with your shit. Shout out to my wife. You know, she's actually putting up with all the drama and all the things that I thought I had to hide. And this person came along my life in the last 3 years and she shook my whole world up. And I started having kids, started calling myself a king, a chief of my tribe. My daughter started doing things that really shaped the way I wanted to see her future. And that is really what invited me to become a softie, more feminine in my approach. It's cool to be masculine all the time, but there's a balance, like Kundalini, like the yin and yang.
I think Karma also chooses, like, you're supposed to be a girl dad, you know? I have 2 girls. I'm like, that's what my whole life was for, research, to matriculate to them to the best of my ability. I understood my whole existence when I realized I was having 2 girls.
Let me ask you this, Drew, because talking about superheroes need help, you're a superhero to all of us, your career. What was rock bottom for you?
First of all, thank you. I would never assume such a beautiful statement. Yeah, I think everybody, when they go through it, because everybody will, publicly or not, you get scared that that will be your narrative forever.
Yeah.
And it's really all kind of up to you. And then that, hopefully, if you get it together and you overcome, you'll be patient with the statute of limitations other people need to come around, and you will find your way. And life is a book, and you have to write it with the acceptance of how people will receive that story. And you can't write it for them, and you can't placate to the phantom they. So if you just stay in your own lane and try to keep your own side of the street clean, your chapters will continue to write themselves, hopefully with more grace as you go on. And then you'll probably think, oh, I've got this, and then probably one of the worst chapters will come. And the hardest. I thought I had seen it all and been through the worst. And when I got divorced with kids, that was the worst. That was far beyond anything else I've ever experienced in my life, because it wasn't about me. It was about the care and concern and high stakes of my kids. And it really took me down. Like for a few years, I really, really didn't know which way was up. I was on top of it as much as I could be with and for my kids, but inside I stopped doing what I love. I wanted to be with them. That chapter I really didn't expect to come and hit me so hard, and I really didn't know how to write the next one, and it took me a few years. Sometimes it takes a lot longer than you want it to.
Yeah.
But it can and it will shift with time and tremendous work. And right now, the chapter I'm in is totally awesome. And I didn't see that when it was bad. And you don't see the bad ones
There's
coming.
no way you see it coming. Yeah, you don't see that.
There's one thing all of you have spoken about. It's like that rough patch, whether it be in your career, your personal life, feeling like you fucked something up, you fell short of whether it's your own expectations or whatever the expectations of society are for yourselves. How do you forgive yourself? How have you guys forgiven yourselves?
I like this.
Yeah, this is a great question, again. I think that's, for me, the thing that has come the latest in my life. Only recently do I forgive myself.
That's dope.
But I'm there. It just took me so long to get there. I beat the shit out of myself about everything. I had to be my own parent. And God, I'm so hard on myself. Ridiculously, painfully, miserably, unlivably hard on myself. But I'm finally on the other side of that. And I'm just so happy to be there because it's those things. Being okay with yourself, not competing with others, realizing you're your own unique snowflake of a being and how to embrace that, how to forgive yourself. Those are such big, overarching themes of life. And it can take so long, sometimes you just think you'll never get there. And God, forgiveness of others has always been available to me. On tap, really. But me, not at all. But as of recently, I'm really having some amazing breakthroughs, and it feels so good. It's so nice.
I don't wanna die for them to miss me. Yes, I see the things.
I do all things. I'm genreless. You might see me DJ in a set in Ibiza, or you may catch me.
What the
No, hold up. You know what? He said it, but I didn't pull the stink face when I said I wanted to play Jordan.
And that's true.
That's it, right there.
I feel good, sometimes I don't. Like, no. I finesse down Western Road. Hey, next. Might go down to G.O.D. Yeah, wait. I make sure that Northside eat. And still.